go to Illinois at Duke. Sneaky good game. Kind of had this one circled for a while because I've been so high on Illinois, in part because of their schedule. This was the big non-conference game. This is a Duke team that, Brett Bielema brought this up, and I talked to him that like people really did not give Duke a lot of credit last year for the amount of wins that they had. They had a lot of like crazy finishes, where you could say certainly they were, a little fortunate in some of them. But this is a game where Duke's favored by 3 points. It feels like a really important game for both programs trying to see who they're going to be this year. Illinois, from a conference standpoint, they have Ohio State, but they avoid Penn State. They avoid Oregon. They avoid Michigan, who we think might end up being pretty good. So the path is there for a potential 11-1 season, a record, maybe 10-2. They've got Indiana in a couple of weeks. Like the Duke and the Indiana games are going to give us a really good sense before we hit October of if this is a true CFP contender. On the Duke side, you've got Darian Mensah, who is one of these really high-profile quarterback transfers, a big winner for Duke. They spent money to get him from Tulane. He had they played Elon, but, he threw for almost 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. Couple that with a defense and the identity that you're going to have for Manny Diaz as the head coach for the Blue Devils. And this is just a super intriguing game. I think I'm going to take Illinois to cover because, I'm really high on them and I've got them in the playoff. But it's definitely a more challenging game than it looks on paper. I think in part because of Mensa and just the quarterback play. But also, like, this is a team that won a lot of games, figured out ways to win a lot of games last year.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you. Mensa, great get for Duke. They spent some money to do it, and I don't see them complaining about how much other people are spending. Neither here nor there. The Manny Diaz defense, I think, is something I'm going to be watching. From that game last week against Western Illinois, like there was not a singular chance that Illinois was going to mess that up. But toward the end of the first half, Luke Altmaier started holding the ball a little bit, and he looked like he was just trying to make plays that maybe weren't there. And you can't do that going against a defensive mind like Manny Diaz. The thing I will say that was really refreshing was going into the half. Brett Bielema was asked about getting on his offensive line. He's like, we got guys going the wrong way. They're running into each other. Like, that is not good football. And he is on it. Very attentive to detail. I say that every time I talk about him. But I think he understands the moment that they're up against with how good they can be, and he's not going to let anything slide. So I'm going to go with Illinois to cover in this one as well.
And 2 quick points to wrap up the Illinois discussion. One of their goals with that opener was to try to put playmakers in positions to make plays and see what they've got. So I do think that could have contributed to holding the ball just a little bit longer because the big question offensively is receivers, and kind of seeing who else can be go-to guys, with that position group. The other thing I'll say is Illinois has been preparing for this, right? You don't only prepare for your opener when you've got Duke and then Indiana in the first month. So even like their scrimmages, because they've got a super veteran team, so they're trying to mix it up a little bit. But because they had, a night game and then a noon kick, like they had some of their scrimmages at different times throughout fall camp to try to just make sure that like the body clocks and things were going to be ready to go for this game week 2 against Duke.